Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever woken up in the morning feeling like your heart is just a little heavier than usual? Like your body's trying to tell you something, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Maybe it's a little stiffness in your arms, a dull throb behind your eyes, or a tightness in your chest that fades before you can decide if it even matters. What if I told you that the most dangerous moment in your entire day, the time when your risk of a stroke is highest, is not when you're climbing stairs or lifting something heavy or walking alone outside. It's within the first few hours after you wake up. That's right. Between 6 and 10 a.m., your risk of having a stroke is at its absolute peak. And yet, this is also the time when most people do the exact opposite of what their body actually needs to stay safe. Most people skip breakfast. Most people sit still. Most people reach for caffeine before hydration. And most people never learn that what they do between waking up and 8 a.m. can either save their life or silently raise the risk of a major cardiovascular event that could change everything. But here's the good news. You're not most people, because today, you're going to learn exactly what to do first thing in the morning. Not just to lower your risk of stroke, but to strengthen your heart, improve your circulation, and wake up your entire vascular system in a way that protects you for the entire day ahead. This isn't guesswork. It's not hype. It's backed by real peer-reviewed research from leading institutions like Harvard Medical School, the Mayo Clinic, and the American Heart Association. And when you combine this research with simple morning rituals that anyone can do at home, without pills, without equipment, without spending a dime, you get something powerful, something life-changing, something that helps you feel safe in your body again. Because the truth is, strokes are not random. Yes, genetics play a role. Yes, age matters. But for most people, stroke risk is shaped by daily patterns, habits, the little things we ignore, the stuff that doesn't feel important, until one day it is. So, let's change that. Right now. Let's begin with this fact. When you wake up in the morning, your body is in a very unique state. Your blood is thicker, your cortisol is high, your arteries are tighter, and your blood pressure often spikes without you even noticing. This combination is what researchers call the morning surge, and it's been shown to triple stroke risk in people over 60. In one major study published in the journal Hypertension, researchers found that people who had a higher morning surge were more than twice as likely to experience a stroke compared to those who didn't. And this surge isn't always obvious. You don't need to feel anxious. You don't need to feel bad at all. It just happens silently, predictably, and if left unchecked, dangerously. So what do you do about it? You do something that lowers that spike naturally, something that opens your blood vessels, calms your nervous system, and gives your heart the message that you're safe, not in danger, not rushing, just gently waking up. That starts with one surprisingly powerful action: early morning movement. No, I'm not talking about going for a run. I'm not telling you to do yoga or ride a bike or jump on a treadmill. I'm talking about something so simple, so gentle, that anyone, even if you've got stiff joints, even if you've got arthritis, even if your knees hurt, can do it within the first 10 minutes of your day. Stand up, roll your shoulders, take a few steps around your room, swing your arms gently from side to side, stretch your neck left and right, then sit down again. Breathe. This tiny act gets your circulation going. It wakes up your lymphatic system. It tells your heart, we're moving now. Time to regulate pressure. Time to warm up the vessels. And studies show that just 5 minutes of light movement within the first hour of waking can lower your stroke risk significantly over time. Not because it's exercise, but because it breaks the pattern of early morning stagnation that allows your blood to pool and your pressure to rise. Think of your body like a river. If the water sits too long, it starts to stagnate. But if you nudge it just a little, the whole system comes back to life. That's what we're doing here. A little nudge. A little wake-up call for your arteries, your heart, your brain. Now, once you've done that, the next thing your body desperately needs is hydration. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your blood becomes more concentrated. That means thicker. That means harder to pump. That means more pressure on your heart and more risk to your brain. But the fix is so simple. 1 glass of water, not cold, just room temperature or warm, with a little squeeze of lemon if you like. Research from the European Journal of Neurology shows that even mild dehydration can increase your risk of stroke and worsen outcomes if one occurs. On the flip side, Properly hydrated blood flows more easily. Nutrients move, waste gets cleared, pressure normalizes. The brain gets what it needs. I recommend drinking about 12 to 16 ounces within the first 30 minutes of waking up. Sip slowly. Don't chug. Let your body absorb it. This is not about flooding your system. It's about fueling it with exactly what it needs to restore balance. And if you really want to take it up a notch, add a pinch of mineral salt or a drop of magnesium. These tiny electrolytes help your body hold on to that water, especially if you've been sweating at night or taking medications that dehydrate you. Now, at this point, you've moved your body, you've hydrated your blood, you've lowered the surge that makes mornings dangerous. But there's one more piece that most people never think about, and it's maybe the most important one of all: your thoughts. Yes, your mindset, your inner world. What you focus on in the first 20 minutes of your day can shape your hormones, your heart rate, your breathing, and your vascular tension for hours to come. A stressful start to the day, watching the news, doom scrolling social media, worrying about your to-do list, can literally tighten your arteries. It raises cortisol, it raises blood sugar, it changes the way your brain communicates with your heart. And all of that adds to the stroke risk that's already higher in the morning. But when you take a few quiet minutes to focus your mind, to breathe, to give thanks, to say a short prayer, or simply sit in silence, you give your body a powerful chemical message. You're safe. You're not in fight or flight. You're in rest and repair. One study from Carnegie Mellon University found that people who practiced brief daily mindfulness had significantly lower inflammation markers and better cardiovascular function, even with no change in diet or exercise, just from taking time to reset their mind. And it doesn't need to be complicated. Just breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Count 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Do that 10 times. That's enough to slow your heart, widen your vessels, and tell your nervous system to stand down. Now, I know this may sound simple, too simple even, but that's exactly the point. Stroke prevention doesn't require a hospital. It doesn't require a prescription. It starts in your bedroom, in your kitchen, in your morning habits. Because if you can lower your blood pressure by even 10 points, you cut your stroke risk by 30 to 50% according to the American Heart Association. And most of that pressure comes from daily patterns, not genetics, not age, not chance. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to change everything overnight. But what you do between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. That matters more than most people ever realize. It's a window of opportunity. And the longer you leave it closed, the more risk builds up inside. But when you open it, through movement, hydration, and calm, you create a ripple effect that reaches every part of your health, your energy, your confidence, your freedom to live without fear. In the next part, we're going to go even deeper. You'll discover what most doctors never mention when it comes to morning stroke risk. We'll talk about hidden sleep patterns that increase your risk and the critical mistake almost everyone makes with their medications. Plus, I'll show you the exact breakfast foods that either protect your brain or silently raise your risk. Stick with me. You've already started changing the trajectory of your health, and we're just getting started. Let's keep going. Now that we've opened the door to what your body really needs between waking up and 8 a.m., let's walk through the rest of the morning. Because what you do after you hydrate, move, and breathe can either lock in those benefits or quietly undo them. And there's one pattern that's putting millions of older adults at risk every single day. It doesn't get talked about on the news. Most doctors only mention it in passing, but it's something almost everyone does without thinking. And it starts the moment you reach for that little white bottle on your nightstand. I'm talking about medication timing. Now, I want to be clear here. If you've been prescribed blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication or any kind of heart protective drug, this isn't about stopping it. It's about understanding how the timing of your dose can either help you or hurt you, especially in the morning hours when stroke risk is highest. See, most people take their blood pressure pills in the morning. It makes sense, right? You wake up, you take your meds, done. But what studies have shown over the last few years might surprise you. A major trial called the Hygia chronotherapy trial found that people who took their blood pressure medication at bedtime rather than in the morning had significantly lower rates of heart attacks and strokes. In fact, nighttime dosing reduced the risk of cardiovascular events by up to 45%. That's not a small number. That's not a maybe. That's a huge difference, just from when you take the pill. Why does this matter? Because your body isn't the same around the clock. Blood pressure naturally drops at night, but for some people, especially older adults, it doesn't. This is called non-dipping, and it's a major red flag for stroke. If your pressure stays high overnight and then spikes even higher in the morning, your risk multiplies. But when you take your blood pressure medication at night, it helps ensure that drop happens. It keeps your system regulated. It reduces the morning surge, and that means your brain is better protected when you wake up. Now, don't change anything without talking to your doctor, but bring it up. Ask them if bedtime dosing could work for you. Advocate for your biology, because it's not just about what you take, it's when you take it that counts. Now, let's move to something just as important, your sleep patterns. Most people think sleep is just for rest, but for your brain, it's so much more. It's when your blood vessels repair. It's when your nervous system resets. It's when the tiny waste-clearing system in your brain, called the glymphatic system, kicks into high gear to clear toxins that could otherwise damage tissue. But here's the problem. Many older adults wake up several times a night. Some toss and turn. Some sleep too late into the morning or go to bed too early. And all of this can disrupt the most protective part of sleep, deep, consistent rest between midnight and 6 a.m. Why is that window so important? Because that's when your blood pressure should naturally dip. If it doesn't, if you're tossing and turning, if you're waking up every hour to use the bathroom, if you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling, your body stays in alert mode. Cortisol rises. Pressure stays high, and the next morning, your stroke risk spikes even more. It becomes a vicious loop. Poor sleep raises your risk, and the higher risk makes it harder to sleep. But there's a way to gently break that pattern. First, build a bedtime routine that starts earlier than you think you need. Around 8 p.m., dim the lights, turn off the screens, read something light, stretch, do a few deep breaths. This tells your body the day is done, that it's safe to release, safe to repair. If you get up at night to use the bathroom, don't panic. Go quietly. No lights, no screens, no checking the clock. Just return to bed and breathe. The less stimulation, the faster your brain can drop back into healing mode. And here's a tip that most people overlook. Keep your feet warm. One study found that people who wore socks to bed fell asleep faster, stayed asleep longer, and had better circulation throughout the night. Why? Because warm feet help regulate core temperature, a key trigger for sleep hormones like melatonin. Now, once you've had that restorative sleep, once you've moved your body and hydrated your blood and taken care of your meds the right way, there's one more piece to protect your brain in the morning, and it starts with what's on your plate. Breakfast is more than just the first meal of the day. It's your chance to either lower inflammation, stabilize blood sugar, and support brain health, or to spike your insulin, inflame your arteries, and raise your risk before noon. Let me explain why that matters so much. One of the silent contributors to stroke risk in people over 60 is something called postprandial hyperglycemia. That's a fancy way of saying your blood sugar spikes after a meal and stays high for too long. This leads to oxidative stress, vascular damage, and eventually inflammation in the arteries that feed your brain. And what's the number one time of day when that happens? Breakfast. Because most people eat the wrong things first thing in the morning. Toast, cereal, muffins, bagels, even fruit juice or sweetened yogurt. These foods flood the system with fast carbs and very little fiber or protein to slow it down. But the fix is simple. Balance. A breakfast that includes protein, healthy fat, and fiber slows the release of glucose. It keeps your energy stable, it protects your blood vessels, and it helps your brain stay sharp and nourished through the most critical hours of the day. Think eggs with spinach, or oatmeal with walnuts and cinnamon, or a smoothie with flaxseed, berries, and protein powder. These aren't just healthy meals, they're strategic protection for your brain and heart. One study from the Journal of Nutrition found that older adults who consumed higher fiber breakfasts had significantly better vascular health, even when other factors like age, weight, and activity were the same. And it's not just about what you eat, it's also when. Intermittent fasting is popular right now, and for some people, it works. But skipping breakfast entirely, especially for seniors, can backfire. It can trigger cortisol, lead to overeating later, and leave your brain running on fumes when it needs steady fuel. So instead of skipping breakfast, reframe it. Make it simple, make it gentle, but don't make it optional. And one last thing, eat sitting down in peace. When you rush, when you eat standing, when you scroll on your phone while chewing, you activate stress pathways that impair digestion and increase inflammation. But when you eat calmly, your body absorbs more, heals more, stays balanced. It's the simplest medicine you can give yourself, and it tastes good too. So, where are we now? You've woken up. You've moved gently. You've hydrated. You've taken your meds with intention. You've fueled your body with brain-protective foods. You've honored your sleep. You've taken a pause to breathe. And already, your stroke risk is lower. Your pressure is steadier. Your brain is safer. Not because of some big dramatic change, but because of a series of small, smart, science-backed choices that work together like gears in a machine. And if you keep doing them, if you let them become your new normal, you start to notice something else. You feel stronger, more alert, more capable, less afraid of what might happen next. Because you're not just reacting anymore. You're responding, with knowledge, with care, with power. In the next part, we're going to bring everything together. I'll show you the one morning nutrient most seniors are missing that could cut stroke risk even further. We'll walk through real-life routines you can follow, and you'll hear the story of a man who thought he was on the brink until he changed just one part of his morning. You're doing beautifully. Let's keep going. So now that we've walked through how your morning habits affect blood pressure, inflammation, sleep, and your first meal of the day, it's time to talk about one of the most overlooked nutrients in stroke prevention. A nutrient most people over 60 are silently low on. One that affects not just your arteries, but your heart rhythm, your mood, your memory, even your energy. And when it's missing, your body sends signals. Sometimes subtle, sometimes loud, but almost always misunderstood. I'm talking about magnesium. Not a trendy supplement, not some exotic extract from across the globe, just magnesium, a humble mineral hiding in plain sight, and yet absolutely critical for brain and vascular health, especially in the early hours of your day. Here's what most people don't realize. Magnesium regulates more than 300 different processes in the body. It helps blood vessels relax. It supports nerve communication. It helps keep your heartbeat steady and your blood sugar stable. It plays a central role in stopping inflammation before it turns into real damage. And when your levels drop, which they often do with age, stress, certain medications, or poor absorption, the first signs are easy to miss. A little stiffness in the legs, a harder time falling asleep, maybe more anxiety in the morning, a foggy head, a fluttering heartbeat, even high blood pressure that doesn't quite respond to medication. But here's the good news. When you restore it, through food, supplements, or both, you often see results quickly. Within weeks, sometimes days, people start sleeping better, thinking clearer, breathing easier, feeling like themselves again. And in terms of stroke prevention, it's a quiet powerhouse. In fact, one large study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people with the highest magnesium intake had a 41% lower risk of stroke compared to those with the lowest intake. Not from a drug, not from a procedure, just from a mineral. So how do you get more of it? You start before 8 a.m., because that's when your body is most sensitive to nutrient uptake. After a night of fasting, your cells are primed. They're ready to receive. So give them something they actually need. Start with magnesium-rich foods. Leafy greens like spinach or Swiss chard, pumpkin seeds, avocados, almonds, even dark chocolate in small amounts can help. If you're doing a smoothie, throw in some raw cacao or hemp seeds. If you're making eggs, saute some spinach alongside. Every little bit counts. Now, sometimes food isn't enough, especially if you're on medications like proton pump inhibitors, diuretics, or certain blood pressure drugs that deplete magnesium over time. In that case, talk to your doctor about supplementing. The form matters. Magnesium glycinate or citrate are gentle and well absorbed. Start small, be consistent. And remember, it's not about chasing numbers on a test. It's about restoring balance to your nervous system, your muscles, your vessels, and your brain. Let me tell you a quick story. A few months ago, I met a retired teacher named Raymond. He was 74, lively eyes, slow steps. He told me he used to walk 5 miles a day, every morning like clockwork. But lately, something had shifted. He was waking up anxious, tired but wired. His heart would race after climbing stairs. He had a strange ache behind his left eye that no scan could explain. And his blood pressure, even on meds, was stubbornly high in the mornings. His doctor said it was probably just aging, maybe stress, maybe a little anxiety. Try meditation, they told him. Try more water. And he did, but it didn't help. So we looked deeper, at his sleep, at his blood work, at his routine. And there it was, borderline low magnesium, compounded by years of a diet that had slowly edged out whole foods. Too many crackers, not enough greens. Coffee all morning, hardly any mineral-rich foods. And to top it off, he'd been on a diuretic for high blood pressure for nearly a decade, which depletes magnesium without most people knowing. We made just one change, a small magnesium supplement with his breakfast. Nothing fancy. We kept the rest of his habits the same for the first week. And do you know what happened? He slept through the night for the first time in 6 months. The pressure behind his eye disappeared. His morning blood pressure readings dropped by 12 points. And for the first time in a year, he went on a 3-mile walk and didn't have to stop halfway. Now, I'm not saying magnesium is a magic pill. It's not. It's part of a larger puzzle. But when the body is missing something that basic, something that essential, even a little correction can feel like a miracle. So, what about you? What might your body be quietly asking for? It's easy to ignore the signs. A skipped breakfast, a rushed pill, a tight chest, a dizzy moment when you stand up too fast. But every signal matters. Every choice adds up. And what you do before 8 a.m., those first 60 minutes after you wake, that's where the power lives. That's where you either feed the fire of inflammation or smother it. That's where you stabilize your vessels or strain them. That's where you reconnect with your body, or ignore its quiet cries for help. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need a few core principles done with care and consistency. Wake gently. Move your body. Breathe. Hydrate. Take your meds with wisdom. Eat food that serves your brain and your heart. Replenish your minerals. And do it in a spirit of kindness, not punishment. Because stroke doesn't give warnings. It doesn't wait. But your body, your brilliant, responsive body, gives you whispers every day. And when you listen, when you respond with intention, the outcome can change. So, here's what I want you to do tomorrow morning. Wake up with purpose, sit on the edge of your bed, take 3 long, slow breaths, plant your feet, stand tall, drink a glass of water with a pinch of sea salt or a squeeze of lemon. Stretch your arms to the ceiling. Feel the blood begin to flow. Then take your walk. It doesn't matter how fast, just that you go. Feel your legs carry you. Feel your lungs open. Feel the tension of the night slip off your shoulders. And when you return, make a real breakfast. Something with life. Something with balance. Something that helps your brain trust you again. Add in magnesium. Add in fiber. Add in color. And eat it slowly. With music. With gratitude. Because every stroke you avoid isn't just a medical win. It's a life preserved. A memory protected. A family spared the heartbreak of watching someone they love disappear in pieces. This isn't fear. This is freedom. The freedom that comes from knowing you're not powerless, that your actions matter, that your morning matters, and now you know what to do with it. So share this message with a friend, with a neighbor, with someone who wakes up tired and doesn't know why, with someone who thinks strokes just happen to unlucky people. Show them the truth. Stroke is not random, it is not inevitable, it is preventable. And that prevention begins before breakfast. This is Health 360 Pro. This is what we do. We bring you truth, clarity, and action. Not gimmicks, not hype, just real tools that change lives. You've made it through this journey. You've learned what most people never hear in a lifetime of doctor visits. Now use it, live it, and walk into tomorrow with more power than you had today. You've got this. I believe in you. Your body believes in you. Let's keep going. Together.